Hello everybody, we'll go ahead and get started tonight. I just hit the record button, so we'll record this for people to watch it, at a later time if they want. Can you hear me all right? Good. Can you see me? Good. I didn't want you to see me, just making sure. We have a new, they upgraded the GoToMeeting and things are in different spots. I just want to make sure everything's looking what I think it looks like. So welcome to our GoToMeeting for tonight, March 30th already, March 30th. We got a couple of things on the agenda for tonight. Section 3.1 is due on April 1st, April Fool's Day on WebAssign. And that is based kind of similar to Section 2.1 actually. In 2.1 we talked about average growth rates. We'll talk about growth rates in 3-1, also known as slope, all right, and talk about finding equations of line. All right, so similar to ID in 3.1, make sure you go ahead and look over the examples out of the textbook, and I did put a video out there on 3.1 as well. And when I make these videos up, I pause, I start and stop recording various times, and at one point in time from this video, I forgot to hit the start to record it, so I had to go back and try to guess where I thought I left off at. So there might be some redundancy in there with one question, but it shouldn't be more than one question. All right, so Section 3.1 is due, and again, look over the examples in the text and watch the video I put out there, and then the Music Comparison Lab is due on 4.3, and that's really the item I want to discuss tonight, the Music Comparison Lab. I don't think it's as lengthy as some of the other labs we've talked about, but kind of an interesting lab looking at how we listen to our music. That has changed drastically in the last 30, 40 years. Since I've been around, it's changed quite a bit. But before we look at that lab, just a couple more announcements. Make sure if you haven't done the end of course evaluations to do that this week. I'm going to go ahead, and I think I sent an email out about, I'm really encouraging everybody to do that, about adding some bonus points to the midterms, I believe I said, depending on what percentage of people we get to fill out those evaluations. So I'm hoping, I think the max was 4 points, and that's between 90 and 100% completion rate for those end of course evaluations. So make sure you fill that out. You can only fill it out once, but make sure you fill it out. I'm just going in a different order. We did that one. Next week is break week. You probably already know that, but I'm just going to make sure you know that. So we don't have any classes next week. I didn't have anything scheduled for you to do for this class next week, so go on and enjoy the week. And we will not have a GoToMeeting next week. All right, so next week we'll take off. When we come back, I think we have one more section to do, 3.2. It's a short unit, this unit, and then take your unit test, and then the last unit. So we're getting close to the end of the semester. Also, when we come back from break, it's registration for classes. All right, we're doing things a little bit differently this year. You can actually register for summer and fall classes at once. All right, so you can actually register for summer and fall classes. That takes place 4/13 to 4/24. Now, the first 2 days, that Monday and Tuesday, 4/13 and 4/14, you have to have at least 30 credits completed. All right, so that's not counting the credits you're taking this semester, but you have to have 30 credits completed to be able to register on 4/13, 4/14, and then after that, anybody can register. So not only can you register for summer, you can register for fall as well. I think it's a pretty good idea. So you want to make sure you definitely see your academic advisor, whomever that may be for that. You'll probably be posting schedules, for times when they're available to help you on their doors here real soon. And also I want to remind everybody the Academic Success Center, free math tutors from 10 to 2, 5 to 8, Monday through Thursday, then 10 to 2 on Friday. You can also get what they call a peer tutor, which is more of a one-on-one tutor, typically another student that has taken the course and has done quite well in it. So those are all options. I was really pleased with the results overall of the midterm, so let's keep on going strong and finish out this semester in a strong fashion. That would be most excellent. Any questions on any of these announcements, anything I said before I just go ahead and start looking at it? What's online? You guys are chatting. I'm not paying attention to you. Let me go back and look and see. Oh. Any questions for me? Yes, online tutors. Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, online tutors from Tuesdays to Thursdays. That's 6 to 9? Yes, 6 to 9. If you actually go, let me show you that. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me go to this web page here, and let me just show you where that is online. And I don't think there's a lot of people that use that, so I think you can get pretty much one-on-one service. If you go to our school website, and I always search, I am looking for, right there, Academic Success Center. And then I think it's usually the first one that comes up. Let's see what this looks like. Yep. And then go down here to tutoring services. Let me move this out of the way here. In eTutors, Tuesdays and Thursdays, there it is. All you do is it's using the same format we're using right now. You just click on the link and you go. Okay, so you can see. I don't know who does it. Actually, I do know who does it. I hear pretty good things about them actually. I don't know if he uses a whiteboard or not, but you can see what they're working on. They can see, talk to you. So it works fairly well, I think. Yeah, good. I'm glad you're telling me that. Good. Yeah, so just click on that and go. It's actually 9 to 11 Tuesdays, Thursdays, and 6 to 9 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Good. Thank you for letting me know that. That's perfect. Okay. Let's go back. Any other questions before we go ahead and talk about this music comparison lab? And I saw a couple of people text me. The final is comprehensive. I think a couple of people asked me about that, but that's a ways away yet. So we'll worry about the final when we get closer to it. So let's go ahead. Let me pull up this music comparison lab. And let me go ahead and go to the top. This music sales comparison lab pretty much is talking about the different ways people listen to music over the last 50 years, I guess it says. I know when I was younger, we had a couple 8-track tapes. In fact, I just heard on my way home tonight, I heard Billy Joel on Anthony's song, I think it was called. The first 8-track tape we had, he was a favorite of my sister, was Billy Joel, 52nd Street. I don't know if that song was on that particular 8-track tape or not. Does anybody know? Billy Joel, 52nd Street? No, you may not even know who Billy Joel is because he's a little bit older now. He doesn't put out much music. I don't know if he's put out any music now or not. But he was pretty big back in the day. But anyway, 8 tracks. And then we had these vinyl records that we listened to. We had the huge ones, which I think were 33s, and we had the smaller ones, which I think were 44s. You don't see too many of those around anymore, but coincidentally, they are making somewhat of a small comeback, the vinyl records. Now people listen to CDs. All right, and even CDs, when I say now, maybe that was 10 or 15 years ago, people don't really listen to CDs that much now. The CD that you have, on your shelf somewhere, the physical CD, the one you can hold in your hand. A lot of time, a lot of people just download the music to your computer. All right, that's an option. And even now, within the last few years, what's another way people listen to music? It's really gaining a lot of popularity, and this is what I do. Does anybody know? You can go to those sites like Pandora that has the live streaming music for free. You can listen to it for free. And like if I wanted to listen to Billy Joel, I would just type in Billy Joel music. Now, it doesn't play Billy Joel every song. It plays Billy Joel music and things that they deem are similar to Billy Joel. So that type of music. And it's free. Pandora, I'm sure there's other ones out there. So there's a lot of different ways people are listening to music now. So if I go ahead and scroll down through this lab, of course read the introduction, but basically that's what it's talking about. this first graph is kind of hard to read. Some of these graphs are kind of hard to read, so I would encourage you to click on these active links here, which is what I'm going to do in a second. It really helps to clear up those graphs. All right, it really helps to clear up those graphs. But this is talking about albums versus single sales. All right, so U.S. physical and digital album sales and individual track sales. They're also making a case that people are more interested now, instead of buying the whole album, just buying it song at a time, because that way people can pick and choose what songs that they want. Okay, so it says in this article by Stephen Andy, what percent decrease by which CD sales, what is the percent of decrease by which CD sales are decreasing? All right, so CD sales, and it's kind of hard to tell right here. So I'm going to click on, I think it's this article right here. I'm going to click on that article, and let me know if you have any questions as we're going through this. So it's asking for a percent decrease. It's the blue line there, and clearly you can see that that is decreasing. All right, clearly that you can see that is decreasing. Let me see if I can do that. I don't know if that helped any or not. Clearly you can see that it's decreasing. All right, so the blue line clearly just decreasing. I did ask you to find a percent decrease, so I would use the very beginning point here and the very end point here. So if I get my pen out, let me see if I can draw on this. So the very end point here, of course we're using the blue line here, it tells you what that number is right there, and it tells you what year it is, 2013. Okay, so in 2013 it looked like there were 133,000, I can't quite read that, 483 I think. Yeah, 483 sales, and that's the CD. Now, you want to use this very first point right here. This very first point corresponds with 2000. So from 2000 to 2013, what is the percent decrease? You're going to have to estimate what that value is right there. All right, so it's somewhere between 600 and 800,000. Okay, so you're going to have to estimate it, and it looks like it's right smack dab in the middle. So I might estimate it at 700,000. So what it's asking for is from the sales of 700,000 to 133,483. What is that percent decrease? Okay, so to find percent decrease, figure out how much it went down by. All right, so from 700,000 to 133,483, then you divide it by, which number you divide by? Where you start at or where you end at? Which number do you divide by there? Yes, always where you start at. Yep, also the 700,000. And if you did this already and you said it was 680,000, I wouldn't mark that wrong, because it's an estimate. You know, when you're going over here and trying to estimate what that is, and you're going to have to do this a couple times in that lab. Okay, so that's what it's asking for, percent decrease. Of course, you'll get a decimal and then move it over twice to make it a percent or multiply by 100. Okay, and this, let me just go back one page here. And I'm a little slow with this drawing tool, so let me erase all drawings and let me go back to, okay. And if you read this whole article, which you want to do because it asks you some other questions, it tells you that this blue line, again, they call it the limp blue line, is physical CD sales. So that's CDs that you can actually hold in your hand. The red line is the single MP3 sales. All right, so we all, I don't know if you have, everybody has an MP3 player, I don't, but, you know, so those are the MP3 sales. Clearly, they're increasing quite a bit. And then here is the actual album sales. I think the digital album sales, the green line. Okay, so you can see they're increasing a little bit, but not a lot. Okay, let me go back to the next question. And again, the next question, you have to read that article. And if you have any questions as we go over this, just please let me know. It says in that same article, so you want to read through the whole article, he brings up this idea that maybe it's better you'd have more sales, and instead of releasing an album with 10 songs on it, just releasing the songs one at a time. All right, maybe you will sell more and your sales will go up. So it asks you to do some research on that and come up with your opinion on which do you think would be a wise approach for artists to improve song or album sales. And notice it says, write a detailed summary on why or why not this would be an effective approach. Instead of selling the whole album, selling them individually, song at a time. So I think he says release a song about every 2 weeks at 99 cents per song instead of a complete album at $10. All right, so I think he's saying you might get more people because, when you buy an album, there are songs on there you don't want to listen to. So you might be more tempted to buy the individual songs than the whole album. And more people might be tempted to buy the individual songs. And then it says, check this out, it says research other articles concerning buying trends. So Google it, come up with another source. And you may draw upon your own personal experiences, all right, as well. But at a minimum, reference at least one additional research source, it's not easy to say, in your write-up. So Google it and see what you can come up with. Maybe you can Google, album sales or CD sales or album versus single song sales and come up with another source that you can reference in your write-up. Now, you don't have to have anything massive here, but, I would expect to see a few sentences supporting your claim. You can just put it right on this piece of paper. And when it says to reference it, you don't need to do an official APA format reference. You can just say, according to this article that I looked up online at this website, you can keep it, fairly general like that. That's fine with me. That's fine with me. Okay, interesting. There's not necessarily one right or wrong answer. It's what you say, it's what you're using to back it up. All right, so you want to make sure whichever way you think is better, you have enough evidence to back it up. And I've seen people back up both premises. They say, well, I think an album's better, and I think selling it individually is better. But you need to have, based on that article, in the graph that's in that article, you want to come to your own conclusion and use that as supporting evidence. Questions on that, number 2? Okay. Then number 3 talks about a different graph as well. So number 3, and I'm going to pull up, actually that's not a bad graph for number 3. I'm just going to leave that right there. It says recorded music sales actual versus forecast. So it says use the graph above from the Music Void website. So the Music Void website would be that first website right there. It says write a paragraph predicting the future sales of total recorded music. So right here is total recorded music, the sales of total recorded music. So notice this is going down, total recorded music, which is not surprising because you have things like Pandora. You guys listen to Pandora? Any? Yes. Okay. So you know something similar to it. So you know what I mean when I talk about things. So those, they're not making any money off of those Pandora. There's nothing being sold there. So I'm not surprised to see this total sales of total recorded music going down. Not surprised at all. The red line is the physical. Okay. These are the physical sales. So the actual things that you can hold in your hand, the actual CDs, and then these are the digital. No surprise that the physical is going down and that the total digital is going up. All right, so it says compare and contrast the digital and physical record sales in the paragraph and predict the overall picture of the music industry in the future. So again, use this information here from the graph and come up with what you think the overall picture is for the music industry, and use this information in the graph to back it up. All right, use that information. Go ahead and read the article as well. That may help you too, and then back up whatever you say. And again, it's less. This is the right answer, and there's no leeway to it. It's more. This is what I think, and this is my supporting evidence. So you're actually coming up and finding some data to support your claim. Well, the data is this, the data is this chart right here, and stuff you may glean from that article as well. Okay, so that's number 3. Now number 4, Again, stop me if you ever have any questions. Number 4 is the last question, so it's a shorter map. It says, use that 2001 to 2012 music void graph on the previous page, the one we we're just looking at, to do the following. It says, consider 2005 to be year 0 and thus 2012 to be year 7. Determine a trend line for each of the 3 sales curves on the graph, digital, physical, and total. For year 2 representative points for each curve, choose 2005, which we said was year 0 as your beginning year, and 2012, year 7 as your ending year. Okay, so you're actually coming up with a trend line, and what a trend line is. Go back up. We'll do this for one of the examples here. What a trend line is if I do the green one, the total digital. Okay, let me get my pen out here. Oh, let me change it to a different color. Okay, let me go to black. Okay. Okay, so 2005 is right here. Okay, so this is one point you're going to use right there. Looks like it's up a little bit from the axis, and 2012 is right here. Okay. What you're doing is you're finding a trend line between those 2 points. And I'm going to try to draw this in, and I'm not going to be able to with my, well, maybe I will. We're going to pretend that's a line. Okay. That's the trend line you're going to use. Okay. So remember, to find a line, if you remember from looking through that book or the video that I put out, now I'm just going to write it down here. I know it's the next question, but I'm just going to write it right down there. Y is equal to the growth rate actually, you know what? I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to make this a little bit quicker. Okay, let me just pull this up. Remember, for a line, you want Y is equal to the growth rate X plus your initial amount or initial value. Okay, so that's what you want to come up with. Let me erase drawings here. Okay, that's what you want to come up with based on that graph. Okay, so if I go back and look at this graph, and it tells me to start at 2005, that point right there, 2005, and then the 2012. Okay. I know for 2005, it's saying to use the year 0, or the 0. That's for my X. Now my Y, you need to do one of these things again. Just like we did for the first question, you need to go over here and try to do, you might want to use a ruler. You know, if you want to put a ruler up there and kind of go straight across to the ruler like I just drew my line, and you got to come up with what you think that Y value is. And when I go straight across, you know, I'm going to say that looks like it's at 1. You know, if you say 2, that's fine. Okay, so remember that this is the year. And then this 1 is the billions of dollars. So it's billions of dollars. All right, so billions. So that's how much money they're making off of these. Okay, so the first value is the year, and remember, 0 means 2000, and then the next number is billions of dollars. So there's actually one point that we can use. Now the other point is over here, and again, 2012, they said use the year 7 because it's 7 years past 2005, and then you need to go over and do the same thing. You need to go straight over there and say that according to your inspection there, that it looks like it's at, I'm going to say mine's, I think my line actually went up a little bit. If I pull a ruler on here, I'm going to say going straight across, mine looks like it's about 8. So I'm going to say it's about 8. You know, if I go straight across, if you look at that line I drew, it's not straight across. It goes up a little bit. So I put a ruler on it just to measure it. Okay. So I have my 2 points. I'm going to write these 2 points down on my whiteboard here. And I'm going to pull this back up so you can see it. 2, 7, 8. Okay, let me go ahead and erase these drawings here. Okay, let me pull this back up. I apologize for talking all the time. Whenever I do a step, I have a habit of talking to myself just to get through it. So here are the 2 points that we gleaned from the graph. And you got to do this for every graph. It's not as, really, once you do one, it's the same idea over and over again. So to figure out the growth rate, remember that this is 2000. And this is 2000, I'm sorry, that's 2005, and this is 2012. So it looks like 2005 to 2012, which is 7 years, it looks like it actually went up from 1 billion to 8 billion, or $7 billion. That is our growth rate. Our growth rate in words would be how much it went up by per year. So it looks like this is going up, our growth rate, it looks like it's going up $1 billion per year. That's our growth rate. All right, so that 1 is our growth rate. So that's what we're going to plug into that formula. That is going to be a 1 when we get done with it. So it's going to be 1. Now, X is my variable for now. My initial value is where you started at. And we started at this year, which had a sales of 1 billion. All right, so this is going to be a 1 as well. So when I write this equation, I'm just going to write it over again because it's kind of sloppy there, but this is what I have. Y equals 1x plus 1. That's what I have. Now, that is what they call my trend line. So this is my trend line. So my trend line would be 1x plus 1 equals y. Now, if you want to, you can do this. You can leave it like that, or you can say, I'm going to do this in Carolina blue. Remember, this was my year, and then this 1 was my sales. If you want to, you can do this. You could say, well, my Y value, again, is my sales. You could say, well, my sales is equal to 1 times the year plus 1. That's what my trend line tells me. Or you could just say S is equal to 1Y plus 1, where S is the sales and Y is the year. And that is my trend line for the first one. Any questions on how we got that? So I actually found 2 points on that graph. Now your 2 points may be a little bit different depending on how you're going straight across on these. So your 2 points may be a little bit different, but that's okay. You know, just so, like if you put for this point for 2012, if you went over straight across and you got 15, that ain't right. But if you put 9, even if you put 10, I'd probably take that too, or 7. You know, there's some leeway there I'm going to give you as long as you're doing the process right. So you need to do that for each and every one of these. So on the physical, you need to go up to say 2005, and you need to come over and you need to say, well, that looks like it's maybe 27, 28. And then in 2012, which is year 7, it looks like that is going over to be maybe 16, 17, somewhere there, 15. All right. That's what you need to do for each one. And then you need to go through and find trend line for each one. Okay, so the growth rate is how much it's going up or down by per year in billions of dollars of sales, and then your initial value is always going to be that year 2005, because that's what we said to start at. So it's always going to be, you know, the Y quarter for 2005. Okay. Now in part B of this, it says, let me see if I can come up with part B. It says that use the model trend line for total sales, and I realize we didn't do the one for total sales, but it's the same way. Develop in part A, predict the dollar amount of total sales in the year 2010, or 2012, 2020. What am I doing? 2020. So if I go back to the one that we just did, again, this was for total digital. Make sure you write down what each one's for, by the way, so we know which one. But if I say do that same question, predict the sales for total digital in 2020. So what number am I going to plug in for Y for 2020? What number am I going to, yeah, I'm going to plug in 15. Perfect. You're going to plug in 15 because remember, t equals 0 is, well, let me erase that. Remember, year 0, 2005. So 15 years later than 2005 is 2020, so that would be year 15. So you would just say S equals 1 times 15 plus 1, or in other words, 16 billion. Now, you don't want to do it for the total digital one, you want to do it for the total sales one, but you do it the same way. You plug in 15. And then in the last question, part C, it says using the model trend lines for digital and physical sales from part A, approximate in which future year digital and physical sales will be equal. And it looks like, you know, they're closing the gap. The red one and the green one. The green one's going up, the red one's going down. It doesn't look like it's going to be too far out where they're going to cross. So what you want to do is whatever equation you get for physical, okay, so we know we got that one. We got that one for the total digital. All right, so so let me just go to a different page here. S equals 1Y plus 1. You're going to come up with something for the physical as well. You know, I don't know what it's going to be, but you're going to come up with something. And notice, I'm just going to take a stab at this. Notice the red line is going down, so that means your trend line or your growth rate is going to be what type of a number. Since that line is going down, the red one's going down, your growth rate's going to be what type of a number? Negative. Negative. So you're going to get something like, you may get something like, and I'm just making this up, you may get something like, you know, for physical, you may get something like negative, you know, 2Y plus 20. That's not what you're going to get. I'm making this up. All right, but you may get something like that. And the question asks, it says, use the model's trend lines for these two right here. We've got them right in front of us now. From part A, approximate in the future year when digital sales and physical sales will be equal. So when are these two equal? All you got to do is a little bit of algebra here, but when these two are equal, so when does that equal that is what it's asking. So all you do, set them equal and solve. So set them equal and then solve for Y. And remember, and if I solve this one, and this, I just made this up, so this isn't right, but if I solve this one, you know, for Y, I'm going to say, let's add 2Y to both sides. So those cancel, and I get 3Y plus 1 equals 20. If I subtract 1 from both sides, those cancel, and I get 3Y equals 19. So Y is equal to 19 thirds, which 19/3 is like 6.3. So what year is that? Well, you got to go back up to this idea here. If year 0 is 2005, then year 6 is going to be 6 years later is going to be 2011. Okay? So that's how you do that. Now remember, I just made this part up right there. So that's not what you're going to get, because that answer 2011 doesn't make sense, does it? You should get something. You should get something. Okay. You should get something that, clearly they're not equal in 2011, because they're not touching. They're going to be equal when they cross. So you should get something out in here, maybe 2014, 2015, something like that. Okay. So once you get the equations for physical and total digital, you just set them equal to each other, like I did here, and solve. Questions on that one? And that's basically all I have. So we got section 3.1 due on Wednesday, and then we have the lab due on Friday. Got a couple emails about a question on WebAssign where they're asked to find the growth rate, and they were doing it right. Turned out it was a negative growth rate. They were just forgetting the negative, to put the negative in there. So make sure that, overall, since that's going down, like the red one's going to have a negative growth rate, this orange one's going to have a negative growth rate. From left to right, the green's going up, so it's going to have a positive growth rate. Okay, so always keep those things in mind. Any questions for me? You're always welcome to stop by, call, or email if you have any questions. Alrighty then. Thank you for coming tonight, and I will talk to you all later. Please let me know if you have any questions, and have a good evening.